Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of We Believe, Do You? I'm Michelle.
And I'm Eric. Oh shit, that was my.
Yeah, it's your turn.
And today we have. Oh my god, dude, not on it today. All right, ready?
Who do you think?
Yeah. And today we have a guest. His name is Hugo. He's a buddy of mine. We worked at the Collegian together, which is a student newspaper at the University of Texas. Well, formerly University Texas of Brownsville, now is UTRGV. Hugo, would you like to introduce yourself a little?
Sure. My name is Hugo. I worked with Eric, so I might slip and call him Connor because that's how I knew him then. He was a photographer, one of our best, if not the best photographer we had at the Collegian.
Thank you.
We worked together for I want to say 2 years from '08 or like a year and a half from like '08 to '09, and we kind of bonded right away.
Sat next to each other in the cubicle or in the desks.
And I tended to spill over into his desk many times because I'm not the most organized, still not the most organized of writers.
Well, I think it was kind of a mutual thing where we both kind of like spilled over into each other's desks because I don't think either one of us was very organized until Juliana ended up in between us, and we kind of really didn't have a choice.
Oh, that was. I forgot she was between us. I
forgot.
I graduated college. I wanted to be a reporter. Didn't work out. I had a crisis of conscience or faith or business ethics, whatever. I went to law school instead. Got kicked out my first year. And I liked Houston so much that I just stuck around. The food here is great. And I kind of I worked corporate for 10 years, close to 10 years. And for the last 3 years, I've been an educator. I've been an English teacher, a high school English teacher. I've been writing on the side. I tell people that my jobs tend to finance my writing vices. I have a book deal, 20 publications, and I live here in Houston with my wife and my 3 dogs, who you might hear. They might bark at some point.
The dogs are okay.
The dogs.
Or the wife.
Okay.
The dogs. Okay.
It's because I was gonna say that before he said the barking part, so now I feel like a jerk.
Yeah, we my wife and I live in, well, technically it's Houston, air quotes Houston. I live in Cypress, and I live on the west side of Cypress, so I'm actually closer to Austin than I am to Southeast Houston. Pretty close to Prairie View, pretty close to College Station, and yeah, been living here in Houston for 9 years, and in this area for going on 3 years now.
Cool, man. So. I mean, I know you didn't mention this part, but you did grow up in Mexico, right? Like for the first how many years of your life?
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned that. Yes, I was born and raised in Mexico, in the border in the city of Matamoros, Tamaulipas. I moved to the U.S. when I was 15, and I was naturalized I was actually naturalized a week and let's see, a week and 8 years ago. No, a week and 12 years ago. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Because I remember it was at the time that you were at the Collegian. Because I remember you going to your ceremony and coming back all dressed up and officially being a U.S. citizen.
U.S. citizen. Yep.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So growing up in Mexico, man, like, did that have have you always like been superstitious or like into the paranormal, like stuff like that, or was it something you were a skeptic before?
I definitely was a skeptic. Yeah, both my parents are very, like, I grew up, I want to say, with the best of both worlds. Like, my parents were are really religious, but also had that, the scientific edge to them, where I didn't learn about empacho, I didn't learn about el ojo, I don't know. I mean, not that I didn't learn, I knew they existed, but when your parents are in the medical industry, you don't,
right.
You learn how to treat the body and the medical way. So
right.
I skipped out on a lot of that, but it's always been a part of my culture. I've always been fascinated. I still am fascinated by things like I read tarot. Just the artwork is really great. I wouldn't say I'm superstitious, but
A little stitious.
a little. Where is that from? I want to say.
The Office.
Oh my
Michael
god.
Scott.
Okay,
I had to
so
throw that in there. Sorry.
Yeah, I've never seen The Office.
where was I? Oh yes. So a little
Little
stitious,
stitious.
little stitious, mainly because I truly believe that this world, this universe is way too big to not
Yep.
have that, and I'd rather. I like surprises. I like that little magic in the world, and as a writer, like I enjoy bringing that to people, having them. Coincidences happen, and sometimes things are weird, and there is no explanation, and there shouldn't be this rush to try and justify or explain. Sometimes you just gotta, like those days when for whatever reason you're having a terrible day at work, and then you go home and a trip that normally lasts an hour and a half, suddenly you're hitting every single green light for no
Mhm.
reason, and it's just that little bit of magic. And instead of being like, well, maybe the algorithm and the angles of the just embrace the magic.
Just
It
a little
just
bit of
makes,
magic.
yeah, it makes life a little bit more interesting sometimes.
Sir.
All right, so then, so what was your first experience then, or your first, like, the thing that you remember the most, or that kind of stood out to you, where you're like, holy shit, like, is this something not here?
I think the one that's most vivid is I've always been a scaredy cat. I don't like watching ghost stories at all or reading. Actually, no. When I worked my graveyard shifts, I actually did go on things like Reddit and no sleep because the adrenaline kept me awake, especially
Mhm.
from that 2 to 4 a.m. period. But when I
That's
was a
why I watch Ghost Adventures at work.
I
yeah,
can't.
it's
I can't
just
watch that without laughing. I don't know. It doesn't scare me. I just laugh. I can't do it anymore.
yeah,
I just let myself get, what's it called? Take it for what it is, and that kind of entertainment, and just let myself get creeped out.
Oh, okay.
that's why no sleep and creepypastas worked for me because I have enough of a vivid imagination where I feel that cold creep in the back of my
Mhm.
skull.
Yeah.
Um, and that vivid imagination I've always had since I was a kid. And one non paranormal, but it's gonna lead into it. Was I remember we were leaving. We were in Matamoros and we were going somewhere, and I don't like being the last one out. My dad is always usually the last one out because he's the one that locks everything. And I was distracted, as is my life. I was distracted by a book or something, and next thing I know, I hear voices and outside. I'm like, oh crap, they're leaving without me, and I'm stuck for some reason. My dad had actually locked some stuff behind me, thinking that I was outside. So in a panic, I started like hearing things, but it was just the hyper awareness that made me start visualizing things. So I ran across. I looked like a little chihuahua running everywhere, and turned on all the lights. And then my dad got pissed off that I had done that just because I was trying to get out. But the actual event, and I didn't tell you this, Connor, but it'll come out. But I want to say maybe 10, maybe 11, and I was in my great uncle's ranch in outside of Monterrey,
Mhm.
and we always went there at least once a year for Holy Week, and we spent the afternoon, like my cousins and myself and my I think my no my brother was really young at the time, but it was my cousins and myself, and we're just like telling scary stories. And they were like, oh, in this ranch there was like devil worshiping and all that, just trying to like spook each other, but nothing like it was scary, but nothing too bad. And then you know we went to bed like later on that evening. We had our carne asada, and then we went to bed. I was in one of the guest houses or guest compounds, whatever, with and just crashing with. It was uh, the layout. I'm not if I can be as specific, podcast specific, but the layout was you walked in. There was a side screen door, and you walked in. there was a big living room, the kitchen, and then a tiny hallway, and then one bedroom in the back. I was crashing in the living room in a sofa bed. How you say it? Sofa bed.
Yeah.
In a sofa bed when crashing with my cousin Hill, and somewhere around like I want to say like trying to sleep, and then something wakes me up, and I wake up, and I just I'm still I'm like, oh right, I'm in my uncle's ranch. It's dark, and I'm like, all right, what's going on? And I hear just like some scratching coming up around across the back of the house. I get up, and turns out it was just the ranch dog just sniffing around. He leaves, and I'm like, I'm scared. Like I'm my heart's racing, but I'm like stupid dog trying to doing that whole like there's a cat, there's an animal, and
Trying to justify or figure
Yeah.
out what's going on.
So
Yeah.
I went back to bed, and my cousin is just like blissfully snoring away, and I'm there just like wide eyed. This was back in before cell phone days, and so there was nothing to no doom scroll or anything to
Yeah.
keep me busy. No Game Boy. Actually, I did have a Game Boy, but like the battery for the I forgot what it was called, but like you put it on the
that
Game
light.
Boy. Yeah, the light was dead, so I couldn't play. And then the kitchen. So if I was laying down, if you were where I was at, I was laying down, and I had a clear view of the kitchen. And the kitchen was one of those kitchens that has the sink, and then like a rectangle
Window?
shaped window. Yeah,
Hmm.
right on top of the sink.
Mm.
And as I'm kind of like just like looking at it, and there's kind of like a weird light that now the one of the not street lights, but a lamppost. And then off in the distance, I see an orb. It was like this bright, kind of like white yellow orb, just not standing, but like floating there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this is not part of the normal anything, whatever. And it starts swinging back and forth like a kind of like a pendulum. Like it moved like a lantern, like someone was carrying a lantern, but
Mm-hmm.
we had flashlights. There was no reason for anyone to have a lantern. And then it just kept going, and like going from left to right, and then it started coming towards the house. And I me being trying to be brave or whatever, I yell out like, Guinness, who is it? No
As your voice
answer.
was cracking.
But cracking voice probably. I don't remember yelling, but I was like trying. But when you're that scared, you're like,
Yeah, I
you
know.
want to
I
sound
understand.
brave, but you're not brave at
No.
all.
Yeah.
So nothing happened. Well, no one responded. So I just kind of like jumped back into bed and like pulled up the covers, and it just kept getting closer and closer. And then as I got I tried to see if there was like a shadow, like if it's a lantern, it's gonna throw a shadow. It's gonna like illuminate whoever's scaring it, and it's gonna shadow behind
Yeah.
it. But there was no shadow. It was just this bright orb. And then it just got closer and closer, and eventually got to the kitchen window, and it just illuminated the entire room. I threw the covers on me,
Mm-hmm.
and I just hunker down, fetal position for the rest of the night. But it was just so bright. I just shut my eyes. I tried to shake my cousin away. He wasn't responding, so I just shut my eyes and just felt the lights. And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up. Now, I thought it's a weird experience as it is, flat out. I mentioned it to so that's my great uncle, his ranch. I mentioned it to my cousin actually a couple months ago, and he's like, it's so weird to say that because that same thing happened to my brother in the exact same house, in the exact same manner that you said, that it came swinging left and right, and then illuminated everything.
Wow.
So, okay, I have a couple theories. I want to know what you guys think. So, obviously, there's ghost because orbs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that a lot of like I love aliens, so I'm gonna bring aliens into everything. Do you think it's some sort of like could be like a UFO phenomenon also, or um, some sort of like interdimensional sort of thing, not necessarily ghosts?
I don't know. It's one of those things that just because if you try to apply the logic aspect to it, even the logic in the paranormal, there's okay. If it was a UFO situation, an ovni as we would call it, it's not exactly flying; it's swinging.
Mm-hmm.
Now, ghosts perfectly possible. That I believe people there is enough evidence out there that you can't discount it. But I just wonder. To me, it's a light that I think that's the thing. I think that was the freakiest bit. It was not a whisper. It was not a shadow. It was a light, a
Yeah.
bright bright light illuminating everything.
And I mean, did y'all ever? I mean, bring this up to like your uncle or somebody who actually lived there, and maybe they also had an experience. I mean, the fact that you and your cousin both had the same experience, I mean, that's enough. That would have been enough evidence for me. You know what I mean? But like, uh, did y'all ever ask your uncle if they had ever experienced anything like that, or something along those lines? Just because that would kind of like make me feel like, okay, well then we're not the only ones.
Justifies.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in that ranch, like my great uncle, he did used to rent it out to people, and but I honestly never thought about it. I never, and the Mexican machismo culture where I was not gonna like wake up and be like, guys, I saw a ghost, because it would be like, ha, that
Yeah.
local saw
Yeah.
he saw a
Yeah.
ghost.
No, I get it.
So I only mentioned it to my cousin because it's my cousin, it's my great uncle's my cousin's grandpa.
Mhm.
So I mentioned to him, I'm like, dude, like just random, like this happened to me. Do you ever hear something like? He's like, it didn't happen to me, but my brother,
Mm-hmm.
the same thing happened.
Yeah.
So I never thought of mentioning it to my uncle, and by the time I actually brought it up to my cousin, my great uncle had passed away like 2-3 years
Oh, I
ago.
see. Yeah. And I know your cousins, they had said jokingly that, about the devil worship and all that stuff, but did anything ever happen like that where like maybe somebody passed away there, like, or did they have like was it called, like a groundskeeper type of thing that,
That I don't know. I mean, the ranch is still in the family's property, and it's big enough where maybe,
mhm.
um, but no,
And I'm not
no.
saying that that's what that
Yeah,
was. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like maybe like back in the day, like way, way back in the day, they had like some groundkeeper or something like that ended up passing away. And then like what you were seeing was maybe like his lantern swinging back and forth. But
Yeah.
like, dude, I don't know why I just got chills. I'm the one saying that he's not even, but
I mean,
like,
it's possible, like because you don't really know
maybe
what
he lived in that house type of thing.
right what used to be where you're at. That's why, like, when we were house shopping, I was like, I don't want, because they're legally, uh,
Obligated.
yeah, if
Mhm.
there was a crime. If natural causes, they don't have to tell you, but that's why
Right.
we avoided looking for older houses.
Right.
Besides the price comparison, but also, nah. And I in scary movies, if anything happened that happens to scary movies, I'm like, I'm out.
Nope.
Um, it's like we don't we don't really know what's out there, and there's a reason why these stories get passed out. Like, obviously, like when we're telling like stories and all that, like we were trying to scare each other,
Mhm.
fiction, but the best fiction is always rooted in the truth.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy, dude. And the thing is, too, like in those ranches, you say it's a big ranch. I mean, shit could have happened on there a long time ago that we don't even know. Because like you were saying about not wanting a new house. I mean, I don't mean to freak you out now, but you don't know what those houses were built on anyway, regardless of the
Right.
fact that they're new. It could have
The
been built on
land.
something. Exactly. The land could be what's kind of keeping
Haunted.
that. Yeah, exactly. Keeping that energy. And you're seeing residual energies from like things that like, are, that happened hundreds, maybe even years ago, that you don't even realize are there anymore. So, that's the only, I mean, because not that I'm trying to explain away what happened. Obviously, it's a crazy experience, and I've had a similar experience at the nursing home where like this big bright light came through. But for me, that it was just like it's a light that came through, and like I kind of like, well, that seemed more like of an angel occurrence, which is something that we talked about in one of the previous episodes. That kind of came through. This kind of sounded like that, but at the same time, like the orb kind of going back and forth like that. It I don't know. It's
It's not
weird.
just something floating around. It's got like a pattern that it's moving in,
Yeah.
or path.
Yeah.
I mean, it was following the path that was there, like because it's not like a road, but these houses are connected to the stables and everything through dirt paths, and it
Right.
was following that.
Yeah.
So it was almost kind of like more of like an intelligent, whatever it was,
Right.
thing that was happening. I mean, it wasn't just kind of floating around everywhere. Like it was
Random,
like it
aimless.
was, yeah, like it was actually walking down a path. And can we just call that an EVP and not tell everyone that it's a dog?
Yeah, right. So then after that experience, was that like your only paranormal or a supernatural experience like in your entire life, besides, obviously at the collegian, and well, the university is just a haunted place to begin with. So
Yeah.
besides that, was there anything else in your life that you had any experiences like that, or was that like the sole experience that you had?
I think the only other one a recent one on compare, because I say recent, I mean like 9 years ago, but
Mm,
um, I had just realized like a week before it happened, I had learned I have sleep paralysis,
mm,
and I had learned that with sleep paralysis, as your mind is so your mind wakes up. For those of you that don't know, I mean, y'all know, but those of you that don't know, sleep paralysis is your brain wakes up and your body is completely asleep, and because your body is in rest mode, you're you're paralyzed because there's no need to move muscles. The basic functions are going, everything else is just paralyzed. And you awake, and because everything is paralyzed, your brain starts freaking out and starts projecting stuff. It starts One of the effects is, besides fear, it's hallucinations.
mm-hmm.
But in my head, hallucinations have always, the hallucination is like a mirage, or you start seeing colors. What happened
Mm-hmm.
in my case was I was I woke up, and I had learned that one technique you can do is like move, like try and like move yourself as best as you can, almost like Kill Bill, wiggle your big
Oh
toe,
yeah.
Oh,
um, or try and make enough noise that your outside your ear will pick up because you're yelling. You might be yelling in the dream,
Yeah.
but only the tiniest whimper is coming out, but that might be enough to wake you up.
Mm-hmm.
Or look straight ahead, at the ceiling or nothing else. Otherwise, it's gonna be bad. So I wake up and I'm like, "Oh, cool! I'm in sleep paralysis." Heart's racing. I'm like, "Okay," trying to move. I'm shaking. Nothing's happening. So I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna look straight up, and I'm going to tell myself, don't look to the side because that's when it gets bad. Don't look to the side. Just keep looking straight up." And I'm very good at not listening to my own self. So
aren't we
right
all?
after right after I said that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look to the side. Look to the side, and I see. Oh, actually, I look to my left. I look to my left, and I see this lady.
No, the
She
old
is
hag.
she
Sorry.
is dressed. She wasn't old. She is dressed
Oh.
all in white, very nondescript features, long, like I want to say either red or black hair, and she looks at me and then just sits up, and swings her feet off
Oh
the
my
bed.
God.
She was laying next to you in bed.
She was laying next to me in bed, like just
Oh my
in this like
god,
nightgown,
No.
succubus.
and then
Maybe.
she maybe, I mean, if it had been a sex stream, I'll believe the succubus bit, but it wasn't. It was just like normal. I don't think I
Yeah.
was even dreaming, but she just sits up, gets up, and then leaves, and then exits through a closed door. And I'm like, well, that's completely terrifying. That's great. I managed to get back to sleep. The next morning, I wake up.
I would not be able
I
to.
know.
I hear the TV playing in the living room. I walk outside and it's my roommate. I'm like, hey, by any chance, did do you hear anything? Anyone leave my was there anyone in my room last night? He's like, no, like no one's come in. Why would that happen? I'm like, oh, cool. Just wondering.
Jesus.
I have to say, I'm like super creeped out. For listeners, obviously you can't see, but I have like this huge blanket covering me so there's no echo. And I just can imagine something standing behind me and I can't see it or feel it. And it's just going to reach into this blanket right now and try and touch me. And I'm scared. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's good.
Again.
Again, yes.
Wow.
No.
No, I mean, and the funny thing is, I mean, you're the second interview who's mentioned a lady in white. So
Okay.
bring that
So
out there.
well, yeah, like that stuff kind of always blows my mind that people see this. Like, there's always a woman in white. There's always like Hat Man, right? There's always Shadow Man. Like, people always see similar things, but it's like, is it the same person? Like, why do women always appear in a white dress with like long black hair or like stuff like that?
It's
I mean, it
because
wasn't.
that's the ghost outfit, dog.
Apparently,
It wasn't. That actually wasn't my first encounter with a lady dressed in white. Quick tangent, but I was reminded. My friend used to live in this place called Fraccionamento Rio, and we
In
would
Matamoros.
in Matamoros. Yeah, we used to ride our bikes all around the place. Now it's like all gated and everything, but we used to ride our bikes everywhere. And I know the cemetery is still there, and there is a cemetery in that area that it used to be not boarded up. It was just
Yeah.
like I think they call it like near El Bordo.
Mhm.
Um, it was over a hill, and if you went up a hill, like there was you could just see down, and the graveyard was like right there. So one day we're just like riding our bikes all over the area, and as we're riding our bikes, there was a tree. I just like my friend and I both looked to the left, and we see this lady again, all in white. This one had a like reddish, pinkish hair. Um,
So basically the same color hair. I mean,
yeah,
similar.
kind of like, and not to be creepy, but like the pictures you posted like of your sister like had like a very similar like maroon almost color.
it
Mhm.
was me. I'm confessing. Just kidding.
And we look up, we're like, all right, we gotta in this weird bravery, like moment of bravery, we're like, we gotta see what's up. So we
Was she?
go in.
Did you say she was in the tree?
She was outside of she was like not hanging from a tree, but there was a tree, and she was just like standing next to it, staring at us.
Okay. I was just trying to
Mm.
And
get the
yeah,
visual.
and so we're like, did you see that? We're like, yeah, we saw that. We get off the road, well, get off the street, and we're like like walk right up to like where the tree was, and there was nothing there. And then we looked down at the graveyard, and in the amount of time that it took from us to get, it was maybe like 20 yards to get from the street to up the bordo. There was not enough time for someone to clear out of the entire area. Like we had a
Mhm.
wide range, like a wide outlook, or the wide point of view where
Right.
nothing was going to come down, and whatever was going to go into deeper into the graveyard was going to be very visible. So we go up to the ledge of the hill, and there's nothing. There's no one dressed in white. There's no one in the graveyard, just gone. They were like, cool. That's freaky and terrifying.
Yikes.
So you're saying, I mean, obviously that she looks similar. Was it just that she looks similar, or do you think that it was maybe the same person and it's just somebody who's
and that's exactly what I was
following you
going to ask.
around?
Yeah.
Or
I don't know. Because it was not someone I recognized.
How far? Just real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but how far apart were the two?
Easily 10 to 12 years.
maybe it's like a great grandma or something.
Do you have? Well, yeah, your mom's like light skinned and like her. ¿Cómo se dice? Her hair is like a
Lighter
light
shade.
color. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Maybe like that. My mom is fair skinned. My grandma is fair skinned. I'm sure you go back far enough.
somebody had red hair.
Someone had red hair.
Yeah. I mean because that was what I was thinking too when you started describing the woman and it was like very similar. I was also thinking like maybe it was either something that attached or someone that
Relative or something.
yeah, some sort of relative, because I mean that's kind of the explanation that I would kind of, but that's the explanation that I have because it's very random.
I heard a phrase. It was like once is chance, twice a coincidence, 3 times the pattern.
Well,
and so I got coincidence and I got chance.
Well, Lugo, I would like you to turn around right now.
Honestly, though, there's been like I'll call it dust or a bug, but
something
I keep
floating
seeing,
around your head.
Yes, right.
His head, right?
Yeah, his head. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to say it's a bug or something, but it's definitely I've seen it fly by a couple times.
Yeah, for the sake of the paranormal podcast, it's a ghost and it's an orb.
Because for you guys, you don't know, but we're on a messenger call right now, so we can see each other talk, like so we can talk to each other, and not just be listening to each other. I don't know. It feels easier to be able to talk to
Actually,
somebody.
It's made it easier for me to share these stories because if I'm looking at people, I don't feel as scared.
Yeah.
If it was just audio, I'd be like, my eyes darting around everywhere.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like, so that's why my sister and I are talking about seeing something like kind of like whiz by his head a couple times. Well, I mean, I think we sufficiently creeped you out, Hugo.
Hopefully you don't see the woman with red hair again.
Maybe in another 10 years. I mean, y'all definitely had some balls to start. If I would have seen some shit like that, I would have been like, nope, deuces.
If it was just me alone, I would have just booked it.
Yeah.
But because I was like, you're emboldened when you're in the company of friends or strangers,
mm-hmm.
and if you're emboldened, you tend to make stupider decisions.
No, definitely. I mean, that's when my whole wanting to do EVPs and stuff. I know we talked about it briefly in episode 0, but I don't think if I would have ever been by myself, I would have been brave enough to look for EVPs or try and do that on my own, because I always did it with at least one other person. So, I definitely understand that.
I think I saw by myself. No way in hell that I would do something like that. I don't even touch Ouija boards, any stuff like that. I know that at the end, the brain is a very powerful thing.
But I'm glad that you came on here with us today, because I feel like, you're supporting us in our endeavors and stuff like that. So, I mean, the stories, I appreciate them. And I know we briefly talked about the Collegian. Well, we mentioned the Collegian a couple times, and I know you have a story about the Collegian. And we'll definitely have to have you back on to
absolutely.
To talk.
I figured that's more of a Collegian-centric episode too.
That whole area, is just a center for the supernatural and paranormal. And I know we've had a lot of experiences working late nights at the Collegian and even during the day. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to come back to. So I know we teased it a little bit, but just come back, guys, and you'll get those episodes, or you'll get that episode for sure. Okay, Hugo, is there anything that you'd like to plug or let us know that you're doing, that you're working on?
Yeah. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, I'll have a book deal for my second book, a collection of poems, and I'm also working on my own podcast, the Obsidian Palms Writing Podcast. It's basically just me trying to dispense writing advice, hopefully trying to get some writers in, and just supporting any creative arts. Because honestly, to me, creativity is not just, there's creativity in every single job profession.
Thank you for coming on with us. We appreciate it. Um, and yeah, guys, go ahead and check him out. If it's by the time this comes out, I'm sure that will be out. So look for his podcast and go give him a listen. Go give him a follow. And yeah, all right.
All right, thanks again.
Well, thanks, man. All right, guys. So that was Hugo. What did you guys think? I don't know. Those stories were interesting. I know for sure the swinging orb one. I still can't explain or can't really think of what that was, and the creepy lady one waking up next to him. That's the one that really got me.
I've never had sleep paralysis before. Knock on wood. I'm probably gonna have it tonight. Now that I said that, I've had instances of what I think might be, but I can't imagine waking up and seeing someone laying in my bed that's not supposed to be there. Like that.
Yeah.
That's just terrifying.
Yeah. No. I mean, for me, it was like that same thing. Like I can't imagine just like turning over, seeing somebody getting out of my bed that isn't there, and then just walk through the door. And then not only that, but then like having seen that same or a similar person like 10
years
years
later.
before,
Yeah.
that's what, it's just too much of a coincidence type of thing, I don't know. That's what's creepy. That one really creeped me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although thinking back, like as a kid, the light one, I would have probably been in the same fetal position, freaking out. Probably would have crapped my pants.
I'm still thinking about that because I don't know. I feel like orbs, like there's so many different things that orbs can be.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the fact that it illuminated the entire room, and then he just like fell asleep and whatever. I'm like, did you get abducted by aliens and now you don't remember?
Yeah.
But that's again me just trying to bring aliens into everything.
Yeah. No, and again, like my thing was like the whole, like he had mentioned, it sounded like a lantern swinging back and forth, and then so I was thinking or wondering, and because my thing is more like ghosts and stuff like that, like related in that area. So I mean, not expertise or anything, but like what I kind of am more into, I guess you could say. Just thinking, was it somebody that used to be there, somebody that was there a long time ago? I mean, because like you said in earlier, that it seemed very like intelligent because it's following the path. Like he said, it was following the path that was already laid there. So I don't know. Was it somebody that lived in that house before? Was it somebody that was like a groundskeeper? Was it somebody from hundreds of years back?
Well, yeah, and then the fact that like his cousin saw it too, so like maybe it is residual haunting where it's just kind of like looped,
repeating
where it's just
itself.
like the same person thing, just kind of following that same path, looking into the house with a lantern. Maybe it is a lantern. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys let us know what you think. Let us know on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
What are all those handles again there, brother?
Oh, right. Yeah. Our Instagram is at We Believe You Podcast. Our Twitter is at WBDY Podcast. Our Facebook page is We Believe Do You ? Or you could also find us on Facebook at We Believe Do You Podcast. And our email is webelievedoyou@gmail.com. So send us those stories. Send us what you think about the stories that you've heard so far. Also, I think Michelle mentioned this in episode 0. If you guys have any stories and you don't want to be on get interviewed, write them in, guys. We want to do a segment where we get
listener stories.
listener stories, and we read those to you guys, and we have an idea for something that we want to flesh out with that as well. So write us, email us, get a hold of us. We want to hear it all because we believe.
Do you?